The fourth question of this series is one that I'm often asked by students and readers of Charisma School. Do looks really matter as we develop sexual energy? In the normal common belief of the world, the answer is always yes. If you ask anyone around you, most likely if they are honest with what they seek, they will say yes, and it's true. Logically, we always seek what is more attractive to the eye. Yet, it's not so simple. Let's think about it more carefully. Logically, we always say something like, I prefer tall blondes with good curves, or I like those short and sweet brunettes, or something like that. This is what we think we want. Women say the same thing. Most of them want the tall, dark, handsome man or the funny, handsome guy. No woman will say they want the least attractive, short, fat, bald guy with glasses and pimples. Yet, are looks the only factor involved while choosing a sexual partner? Do they matter a whole deal? And the answer is simple. They matter in a logical and self-conscious way, but not emotionally. To our normal everyday conscious mind, looks matter a lot. But in the reality of the everyday living and our actual behaviors, not as much. And as much as I would like to say otherwise, we are most of all emotional creatures. So if you affect the emotions of the person in front of you, the logic won't interest that much. In other words, if you can touch her in an emotional way, the logic will follow closely after and will justify for her emotions regardless of how you look. For example, many women cheat on their husbands due to wanting to feel these intense sexual feelings and emotions which are commonly present while having an affair. The sneaking around, the lying, the hurry-up sex, and this affects all women in a very deep and emotional way, as they like to be affected. Even if the guy they are cheating with the husband with is not more attractive than the husband. And if you ask them why they are doing this, they will tell you in a very logical way. It's their husband's fault for not giving them enough attention, or the other guy values them much more. But what they truly want is the intense emotion of the affair. And the interesting is if they leave the husband to be with the guy they were having the affair with, the emotion dies down and the relationship just goes back to the bad relationship they used to have with the previous husband. Obviously, this example also goes the other way around with the husband cheating the wife. Being male or female is completely indifferent in this aspect, since the emotional aspect comes from the human race and not from a specific sex. And this is a merely generalizing. Obviously not everyone acts this way, but it's a common enough example to justify the reasoning. We use logic to justify our emotions. But overall, the emotions are much more prevalent and win over your behavior most of the time. With that said, the answer to the looks question is fairly simple. If you deal only with our logical mind, then yes, looks matter a good deal. If you deal with our emotional mind, looks get segregated to the background. Now, how do we deal with our emotional mind? There are plenty of tips, techniques, and methods that teach you how to do this. But we in Charisma School offer an alternative to all of the psychological techniques that you can learn elsewhere, which goes even deeper. We work directly with the energy behind the emotion. It's true that you can work with emotions merely with words and psychological techniques. But especially for me, since when I was younger, I wasn't any good and articulate speaker and not particularly witty or with a big emotional IQ, so I always try to follow different routes and different ways to do things. And so, when I started learning personal magnetism with my teacher, I learned a much more direct route to the emotions, using energy road. By working with the energy, you affect emotions at a much deeper level than any kind of psychological technique. And the beauty of it is, unlike other techniques, this is not psychological manipulation, so there's no way you can get caught, since you can be speaking about the most trivial things, yet the energy work that you are doing elicits very deep sexual reactions in a person in front of you. They never know what is hitting them. They just know that they start to feel a deep sexual attraction towards you. Eventually, as we learned, the logic will find a reason to justify this emotion they are feeling. So they start to feel a deep, intense sexual energy, which manifests in an emotion of attraction and sexuality, which will be later justified by their logical mind in one way or the other. So regardless of the way you look, sexual attraction is certainly possible if you work with the emotions of the person in front of you. Especially if your goal is to have sex, then you need to elicit as much as sexual energy as possible, which will bypass the critical factor and the looks issue before it's even raised. Another point is, the most beautiful women are not necessarily the most sexual ones, or the ones that attract you sexually. The same goes for men. I cannot tell you how many private clients that I've had with problems in attracting and in relationship with the opposite sex when themselves they look like models. They were beautiful and attractive, yet their sexual magnetism was zero. And as such, they got the initial attraction, even got approached fairly often, but it never led anywhere since they didn't elicit any kind of sexual energy. Maybe you can even realize this in your own experience. Haven't you ever had a girlfriend or a boyfriend or someone that you were very attracted to, yet they certainly weren't the most beautiful person that you knew? And even though their sexual magnetism was really very high. If looks are the main factor, then we should all be sexually attracted to the most beautiful person that we meet, which is not the case. A woman or a man can be very beautiful and we can even appreciate the beauty, but we don't feel a deep sexual attractions. On many cases, we feel a deep sexual attraction for those who may not be extraordinarily beautiful, maybe even average looking, yet there's something in them that is attracting us in a sexual manner. This something is sexual energy, that very specific energy quality that creates attraction in those around them. So you don't need to be beautiful in order to have sexual attraction from those around you. You just need a high impact sexual energy. To develop this sexual energy and sexual magnetism in yourself, we created 2 trainings. The first training, Sexual Energy Mastery, handles the discovery and development of sexual energy. It uses a specific and innovative process to help you discover sexual energy and allow it to flow freely inside of your own body. The second training is a Sexual Magnetism, which works mostly in the projection of this energy with specific techniques to exteriorize and use this energy for specific applications, laser targeted or increasing your overall magnetism. For more information, the rest of this Sexual Energy series, a frequent newsletter on these topics, and more training course on sexual energy, personal magnetism, charisma, and magnetic gaze, visit charismaschool.com.